I said my kids come first and his are just extras, and 5 minutes later, my sister's backyard turned into a courtroom with potato salad. Let me say this up front before everyone screams in the comments. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I was exhausted. 7 months postpartum and the only adult in a house where the laundry could legally file for emancipation. William, my ex, technically separated at the time, had 2 kids. Sweet on paper, fairy in practice, who came every other week with their own rules from their biomom, Lacey. Meanwhile, I had my 2 boys, 14 and 12, and a baby who thought sleep was an optional subscription. Blended family? More like blended obligations with no recipe. The fight started at my niece's birthday. Cute pastel everything, rented bounce house, charcuterie board shaped like a unicorn, peak Instagram family piece. Until William's daughter asked if my teen could give up his turn in the bounce house because real family goes first. It was a throwaway line she obviously picked up somewhere, but my son turned beet red, and I could feel that hot rush behind my eyes, the one that says, "You're the only person protecting your child in this whole damn yard." I pulled William aside near the folding tables. "You need to talk to her." He lifted his hands. "She's 10. She didn't mean it." "And yet she said it," I snapped. "My kids won't keep being the ones who compromise." Cue Lacey, the biomom, materializing like a subpoena in sundress form. "Is there a problem?" Her tone said she'd already decided the answer. "There's no problem," William said quickly, which is husband speak for "there is a Category 5 problem and I plan to ignore it until it kills me." This is where I could have de-escalated. Instead, I did the thing I always do when I feel cornered. I clarified. Loudly. "Just to be clear, my kids come first in my home. I'm not rearranging their lives every weekend for visitors." My sister's tongues froze midair. Conversation slowed. Even the unicorn charcuterie looked offended. Lacey's smile disappeared. "Visitors?" "You know exactly what I mean." I pretended I didn't. "This constant whiplash, different bedtimes, different screen rules, different meal tantrums, my boys shouldn't have to contort themselves because your kids don't have structure." William's face did that papery, cracked thing. "That's not fair." I said, "It's accurate," and I felt something hard and ugly click into place. The truth is, it had never felt equal. My boys picked up chores, his kids picked fights. My boys adapted to our baby, his kids acted like she stole their oxygen. Every compromise cost us double. That should have been the end. A nasty line, a tense drive home, regrettable bedtime apologies. But then Lacey took out her phone. "Say it again," she said, camera pointed like a weapon. "Say his kids are extras. For the record." I saw red. I said, "His kids are extras in my life. That's not illegal. It's honest." Click. Uploaded. Hashtags she probably had saved in drafts. Hashtag high conflict co-parenting. Hashtag bonus mom fails. Hashtag protect your kids. Within an hour, our family group chat exploded. So did the neighborhood mom thread. By the time we packed the car, I'd been demoted from overwhelmed stepmom to wicked stereotype with an Etsy habit. My phone lit up with question marks from friends who apparently needed clarity on whether I actually called children extras at a 10-year-old's birthday party. I did. I absolutely did. Here's what no one wants to hear. I didn't start as a villain. I started as a schedule. I moved my shoots to Thursdays for handoffs, color-coded calendars, made chore charts that could run a small nation. I learned their snack brands, mediators' names, and the article number in the custody order that meant Lacey gets veto power whenever she feels like it. I tried. Then I got tired of believing effort equals gratitude. Flashback. Month 3 of living together. William's son melted down because the mac and cheese here tastes different. Lacey texts William in real time. He doesn't like the environment. Too many changes. William shows me the screen with a helpless shrug. I Google, how to keep teenagers from combusting. while my own boys silently wash dishes because they can hear I'm about to cry. That was the template. Their discomfort equals an emergency press conference. Mine, just background noise. Back to the party aftermath. We got home to a comment storm. Lacey's video had legs. Strangers were lecturing me about empathy, tagging accounts with names like @GentleStepFamilies and @CycleBreakers. Someone found my business Instagram and left a review. Photographs children beautifully. Talks about them like carry-on luggage. I reported it. It stayed up. William paced our kitchen. "You have to apologize," I asked. "For what? For saying my kids come first in my home? For calling mine extras online," he said, voice low and raw. "Do you know what that does to them?" I did. I knew exactly. And I hated that this whole mess would be distilled into a screenshot forever, but I also hated how quickly everyone pivoted to his kids' feelings while mine sat at the counter pretending not to read the comments calling their mom a monster. I typed an apology note. I deleted it. Typed again. Softer this time, lined with corporate remorse. I spoke harshly at a stressful moment. I love all the kids in our home. Delete. It tasted like chalk. Then Lacey posted part 2, a carousel of texts. Not mine to her, hers to William, cropped, curated, acid-edged. She refuses to adjust bedtimes. She won't buy our brands. She said her baby comes first. Duh, of course my baby comes first. She can't feed herself. My sister called. "People are mad," she said, like reading the weather. "You need to fix it." William stared at the wall. "Please." I hit live. Not my best decision, but I thought if people saw my face, the rings under my eyes, the spit up on my shoulder, they'd understand I wasn't a villain. I was a mother on empty. I started calm. I ended with the sentence that would tattoo itself to my reputation. "I will not keep breaking my children so other people's kids feel whole." The chat went nuclear. William left for a drive. My boys pretended to play Xbox with the volume low. The baby fussed and fell asleep on my chest, damp curls stuck to my collarbone. I scrolled through DMs like I was searching for a kind universe. Buried among the threats and think pieces was a voice memo from an unknown number. Soft, controlled, ice calm. "Lacey, I'm done letting you narrate my children. Check your email. The video and your live are attached to the filing." Filing? I opened my inbox and saw it. The subject line in legalese, the attachments like bricks. Motion to modify visitation, emergency review. She'd tagged my clips as evidence of hostile environment and parental alienation. The last page had a hearing date bolded in angry black ink. I was still staring when my phone buzzed again. This time it was William. A text so short it felt like a slap. "Do not contact me. From now on, put everything in email." I looked up, dizzy, as my front porch light flicked on. Headlights swept across the living room wall. Doors slammed, voices, multiple. Because Lacey didn't just file online. She brought company. And they were already walking up my steps. The headlights cut through my living room curtains like a spotlight, and the low rumble of voices outside made my stomach twist. I didn't even have to look. I knew it was her. I yanked the door open before they could knock, because if she was here to make a scene, I wanted my neighbors to hear my version first. And there she was, his ex, the stepkid's mom, with her arms crossed and that smug little smirk she wears like perfume. "Cute face bug posed," she said, tilting her head. "Guess I should thank you for telling all your friends my kids are emotional parasites." I didn't flinch. I didn't name names. If you think it's about you, maybe you should ask yourself why. She laughed, a sharp, humorless sound, and stepped closer. "Don't worry, I am asking myself why, but you'll be asking yourself why in court." She shoved a folded paper toward me. It wasn't a subpoena, not yet.
just a printed screenshot of my own words, blown up like evidence in a crime drama. I stared at it, heart hammering. You think you can play Mom of the Year for Facebook and still keep this life? Sweetheart, you just handed me the match. And then she walked away, heels clicking against my driveway like punctuation. I wanted to scream after her, but instead I slammed the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. The baby upstairs started crying, and I was halfway up the steps before I realized my husband hadn't even come downstairs to see what was happening. When I walked into the bedroom, he was sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling his phone. No, what was that about? No, are you okay? Just scrolling. She's trying to threaten me, I said, my voice sharp, over a post. And you just sit here? He set his phone down slowly, like he had been waiting for this moment. She showed me the post already, and she's not wrong. My throat closed. Excuse me? You didn't just make it about her. You made it about them, my kids. You called them... I was venting, I snapped, and you're really gonna take her side? He stood up. It's not about sides. It's about the fact that you keep making it clear you'll never accept them, and now you've put it in writing for the whole world to see. I wanted to hit him, not literally, but with something that would land just as hard. Maybe you spent half as much energy defending me as you do defending her. We wouldn't be here. That landed. He flinched. But instead of fighting, he just grabbed his jacket. Where are you going? I demanded. To make sure my kids know I'm not letting them get dragged through your mess. And then he was gone. For the first time, the silence in the house felt like a threat. I didn't hear from him for 3 days. The baby was fussy, I was exhausted, and the messages from friends started trickling in. Screenshots of his ex's own post, carefully worded, painting herself as the saint who tolerated my presence for the sake of peace. She didn't tag me, but everyone knew. And the comments... She's always been jealous. Some women can't handle being stepmoms. I feel so bad for those kids. It was like watching a fire spread from the safety of your own home, only to realize the wind was blowing toward you. On the 4th day, he finally came home. He didn't look angry. He looked decided. He set his keys down. I've been thinking, he said. Maybe we should take some space. I can stay with my parents for a while, bring the baby on weekends. No, I said immediately. You're not taking her. He said, I'm not fighting you. Yet. But I need you to understand this isn't just about us anymore. You've made it about all of them. And they've had enough. I wanted to argue, but the way he said they made my skin crawl. It wasn't just him and his ex anymore. It was his parents, his kids, maybe even people I didn't know yet. That night after he left, I couldn't sleep. I went through his Facebook, his messages, trying to see if she'd gotten to him in ways I couldn't see. And that's when I found it. A private group chat with his ex and his sister. My name came up over and over. Screenshots of my posts, my comments, even things I'd said in private messages. And the worst part? Every time they sent something, he replied with the same 2 words. I know. I sat there staring at the screen, my whole body buzzing with the realization they'd been building a case against me for weeks, maybe months, and I had fed them every piece. I was so caught up in the anger, I didn't hear the knock at the door until it turned into pounding. When I opened it, 2 uniformed officers were standing on my porch.
The taller officer spoke first. Ma'am, we received a call about a domestic situation involving minors at this address. We'll need to come in. My brain short-circuited. A what? The other officer glanced toward the staircase where the baby's room was. We've been informed there's a history of verbal hostility toward your stepchildren, and that there may be emotional endangerment involved. It felt like the air got sucked out of my lungs. Emotional endangerment? The phrase sounded like something ripped from one of her posts. "You can't just walk in here and," I started, but they were already stepping past me, eyes sweeping the living room like they expected to find broken furniture. "Where's the infant?" the taller one asked. "She's sleeping," I said, planting myself on the bottom step. "And unless you have a warrant, you don't get to—" The other officer cut me off. "We don't need one if we believe a child may be in imminent danger." And just like that, I realized exactly how far she'd gone. This wasn't just a Facebook war anymore. She'd pulled in the police. She'd put me on record. When they left, after a painfully polite but humiliating check of every room in the house, I sat on the couch, hands shaking. My phone buzzed, and I didn't even need to look to know who it was. Him. "I told you to stop pushing her." I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. No "are you okay?" No "what happened?" Just blame. Again. That night, I decided to fight fire with fire. I opened my laptop and typed until my fingers ached, a long, boiling post about certain people who weaponize the system, who cry wolf to cover their own toxic parenting. I didn't name her, but I didn't have to. My friends, my family, even mutual acquaintances jumped into the comments, tearing her apart. For 48 hours, I felt invincible. I had people on my side. Screenshots of the comment section were making the rounds, and for once, she looked like the aggressor. But then the third day hit. A message landed in my inbox from a woman I didn't know. No greeting, no explanation, just a link to a private Facebook group. I clicked. At the top was a pinned post from his ex. My post. Every word was copied there. Underneath, she'd written, "This is what my children's stepmother thinks of them, and she wonders why they don't want to be in her home." Below that, photos, not just of me, of the baby, of the house, of my family members pulled from my own social media. Each one captioned with little digs about my character, my temper, my inability to blend families without creating hostility. And then I saw it, a grainy video clip, about 20 seconds long, clearly shot through the kitchen window. It was me snapping at the stepkids last summer. "If you can't keep your hands off my stuff, go back to your mom's." I felt my stomach drop. Out of context, it looked bad. Hell, even in context, it looked bad. My phone rang before I could even process it. It was his sister. "You've officially lost your mind," she said, without preamble. "Do you realize she has people watching your house, recording you? You've given her everything she needs." I wanted to scream, but all I managed was, "Why are you calling me?" "Because," she said, voice dripping with that same self-righteous tone they all had, "this is about to stop being a Facebook war. She's taking you to court." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the absurdity had finally tipped into freefall. For what? Not liking her kids? "For unfit parenting," she said. "And she's got witnesses, and you've got screenshots." I hung up before she could say more. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying that grainy video in my head, imagining a judge watching it with no idea about the mess that came before it, no idea about the baiting, the petty sabotage, the way those kids were coached to push every button I had. By morning, I'd made my decision. If she wanted court, she'd get court, but I wasn't walking in there alone. I called the most aggressive custody lawyer in town, the kind who advertises on billboards with slogans like, "We don't play nice." When I told him the situation, he didn't even blink. "You've already lost the public narrative," he said. "The only way you win now is by going on the offensive. Find something on her. Anything."
I didn't tell him I already had, because 3 months ago at a family barbecue, one of her own relatives had let something slip, something she definitely wouldn't want on record. And if I played it right, it could flip the whole game. The lawyer leaned back in his chair. Well, what are you sitting on? I opened my mouth to tell him, and that's when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Just 3 words. "Too late, sweetheart." Attached was a photo of me, holding the baby, mid-argument on the porch, with the stepkids standing in the background, tears streaming down their faces.
I didn't recognize the number, but I recognized the timing. The photo was fresh. I could tell by the shirt I was wearing, the angle of the afternoon sun on the porch. That meant someone had been close, watching. I shoved the phone in my bag before the lawyer could see my hands shake. "It's nothing," I lied. Except it wasn't nothing. It was proof that no matter what I did, she had eyes on me. By the time our first court date rolled around, I'd been sleeping in 3-hour snatches, snapping at everyone, even the baby, without meaning to. I walked into the courthouse with my lawyer flanking me like a bodyguard, clutching a folder of printouts. Her posts, her group screenshots, the petty little digs that made her look obsessive. She was already there, sitting with her attorney, looking like she'd just stepped out of some perfect mother catalog shoot. Hair down, makeup soft, wearing a pale blue blouse that screamed innocence. And of course, her kids were there too, sitting next to her like perfectly staged props. When the judge took the bench, I braced myself, but nothing prepared me for how quickly it turned ugly. Her lawyer went first, spinning a story so neat and polished it could have been scripted for TV. He talked about ongoing verbal harassment, an unsafe emotional environment, and consistent attempts to alienate the children from their father and extended family. Every word made my skin crawl. Then he pulled out a thumb drive. "Your Honor, with the court's permission, we have video evidence." My stomach turned to lead. The grainy clip I'd already seen played on the overhead screen. The one from the kitchen window, me snapping at the kids to go back to your moms. In the courtroom's sterile silence, it sounded worse, like an indictment. The judge's expression didn't change, but I saw the way she glanced down to make notes. When it was my turn, my lawyer tried to steer it back. He talked about my role as primary caregiver for my baby, the petty provocations from her side, the social media smear campaign. But then he said it. "And we also have testimony from a member of her extended family that may call her fitness as a parent into question." She didn't flinch, but I saw the way her lawyer's head tilted. They knew what was coming. The judge allowed it. My lawyer called the witness. Her own cousin. The man shuffled to the stand, clearly uncomfortable. Under oath, he admitted he'd seen her leave the kids home alone for a short while to go meet a man. He hesitated over the details, but he said enough to plant the seed. For the first time, I felt the balance shift. Her perfect image cracked, just a hair. We broke for lunch, and I was walking out with my lawyer when I heard it, her voice, low but sharp, behind me. "You think that was clever?" I turned. She was standing there. No cameras now, no judge, just her eyes locked on mine. "You don't get it," she said. "I've been ahead of you from the start." I almost laughed. "Yeah, we'll see what the judge thinks." She leaned in just enough that only I could hear it. "You really think I don't have more? Keep going. I'll make sure the next video has your baby in it." The hair on my arms stood up. I didn't respond. I couldn't. That afternoon, her lawyer submitted additional evidence. Conveniently, something they hadn't realized was relevant until this morning. The judge allowed it without hesitation. When the screen lit up again, my heart dropped. It was my front yard, the baby in my arms, me yelling, not at the kids, but at him, my husband.
It was the night after he told me to stop pushing her. I'd been tired, furious, holding the baby while I unloaded every grievance I'd stored for months. But on video, all you saw was me, red-faced, gripping our infant while my voice climbed and climbed. The courtroom was silent when it ended. "Your Honor," her lawyer said smoothly, "this is the environment we're concerned about. This is what the children, all of them, are exposed to." I wanted to scream that it was a setup, that they'd edited the sound, that this wasn't the whole story. But the judge's face told me exactly how much damage had just been done. When the session adjourned for the day, my lawyer told me to stay calm and not give them any more ammunition. But as I stepped outside, the sun too bright, my head pounding, I saw her leaning against the courthouse wall, phone in hand. She raised it like she was taking another picture. And then she smiled.
By the time I got home that night, the post was already up. A blurry still from that courthouse video, me mid-yell, baby in my arms, cropped tight so you couldn't see who I was talking to. Her caption was a masterclass in faux concern. Some people don't realize the impact of their behavior on little ears, praying for all the kids involved. Within an hour, it had over 200 shares. People who barely knew us were chiming in, offering unsolicited parenting advice, couching their judgment in syrupy phrases like, "just thinking of the children." I wanted to comment. God, I wanted to tear through that thread and tell every one of them exactly what happened, who filmed it, why it was a setup. But my lawyer's voice echoed in my head, "Do not engage. Every comment will be screenshotted and taken out of context." So instead, I sat there, refreshing the post like some kind of masochist, watching the comments multiply. By morning, it had jumped to a local parenting group, one I'd been a part of for years. That's when it really got ugly. People I'd organized playdates with, moms I'd shared coffee with, were suddenly treating me like a cautionary tale. Someone even tagged my work account under the thread. "Isn't this the same person who?" That was the first time I realized she wasn't just coming for my reputation as a mom, she was coming for my livelihood. I tried to go about the day like normal, but at daycare drop-off, I could feel the shift. Conversations hushed when I walked past. Two moms who used to chat with me in the parking lot just smiled tightly and kept walking. When I got home, there was a note taped to my front door. No name, no signature, just scrawled in marker, "Kids deserve better." My hands shook so badly I almost dropped it. That night, I broke. I poured a glass of wine and opened my laptop, drafting a post that would blow the whole thing wide open. Name names, post the original uncut videos, list every time she'd undermined me or broken boundaries. Halfway through, I stopped. Because if I posted it, it would feel good for maybe an hour. Then she'd find a way to twist that too. Still, the rage needed somewhere to go. So I texted my husband. Just a screenshot of the note on our door, followed by, "Happy now? This is what you've let her do." He didn't reply. The next day in court, it got worse. She didn't need to say a word. She just let her lawyer acknowledge the unfortunate social media attention and imply that I'd brought it on myself. The judge's eyebrows tightened. My lawyer's jaw clenched. Afterwards, I caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror. Tired, puffy-eyed, skin dull. I looked like the villain in her story. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't just fighting for her kid's image of her. She was trying to erase me entirely from the blended family picture. A week later, the incident
Moved from Facebook to Instagram. This time it was a carousel post. Slide 1, the courthouse still. Slide 2, a cropped screenshot of my old tweet from years ago where I joked about needing a vacation from the kids. Slide 3, a grainy photo of me at the grocery store, baby in the cart, texting on my phone. The caption? Patterns. Stay aware, mamas. Protect your babies. The comment section turned into a full-blown witch hunt. People tagging CPS. People speculating about my mental stability. And right in the middle of it, her. Never directly attacking, always just agreeing with the most cutting remarks, sprinkling heart emojis and prayer emojis like gasoline on a fire. One night, as I was putting the baby down, I noticed headlights sweep across my living room. A car idled outside just long enough for someone to take a flash photo before pulling away. That was it. I called my lawyer and told him we needed to shut this down now. He reminded me that the custody ruling was still pending, that filing harassment charges mid-trial could backfire. Backfire. That's what the last month had been, one long backfire. I hung up and sat in the dark, the baby asleep in my lap, my phone buzzing with notifications I couldn't bring myself to read. The next morning, I woke to a text from an unknown number. No words, just a link. I clicked it, and there it was, a brand new account, clearly made to humiliate me. The profile picture was that courthouse still. The bio read, documenting unsafe parenting so kids can thrive. The first post was a slow-motion video of me closing my own front door, baby crying inside. The caption? She locked them out. And in the comments, her username with a single heart emoji.
The burner account was the last straw. I screenshotted everything, every post, every comment, every little passive-aggressive emoji, and sent them to my lawyer with a single sentence. File it. He hesitated. You're sure? This will drag her into court for harassment. It could also make the custody judge think you're fixating on her instead of the kids. I'm sure, I said. If I don't hit back now, she's going to bury me. So we filed. And for the first time in months, I felt a spark of control. The narrative wasn't going to be hers forever. I was going to force the truth into the open, under oath, in a place where every word was recorded. For a week, I let myself believe I was winning. My lawyer prepped me for depositions, we gathered witnesses, even a couple of moms from the daycare who'd seen her stirring trouble in the parking lot. Then the subpoenas went out. That's when she pivoted. Instead of deleting the posts, she doubled down, claimed she was acting in the best interest of the children and that her content was community safety awareness. She filed her own motion, accusing me of reckless emotional instability and alienating the father from his children. The father. My husband. Technically, my ex-husband now. We hadn't spoken in weeks, but I assumed, foolishly, that he'd still back me in court. After all, we shared a child. We shared history. We'd survived more fights than I could count. But the day before the hearing, my lawyer called. He's on her witness list. I thought I misheard. As what? A character reference? More than that. He's giving testimony. I couldn't breathe. Against me? He didn't answer. The next morning, I walked into the courthouse feeling like every step was on broken glass. She was already there. Hair perfect, outfit carefully chosen to read, warm, responsible parent. Her own kids lined up beside her like some magazine ad. And then he walked in. Not with me, not even alone. With her. They sat together, whispering, exchanging little smiles like they'd been in on the same joke for weeks. When the judge called us in, my legs felt hollow. My lawyer started strong, laid out the harassment, the public humiliation, the damage to my reputation. I watched the judge's pen move, nodding occasionally. Then it was their turn. She didn't even take the stand first. He did. And he didn't hesitate. Talked about my short temper, about times I'd overreacted in front of the kids, about my inability to co-parent with hostility. Each phrase landed like a slap. I could see her in my peripheral vision, calm, almost serene, letting him do the cutting for her. When she finally did speak, it was measured, controlled. She didn't deny posting the videos, she reframed them. "I document what I see," she said softly. "I wish I didn't have to, but when you love children, you protect them however you can." And then she did it. She asked to submit new evidence. My lawyer objected. The judge allowed it. The clerk handed over a tablet, and the screen lit up with a compilation video, clips from my own social media, stitched together with ominous background music. Me snapping at the baby while loading groceries. Me venting about needing a break during a late-night Facebook Live. Me at that courthouse, eyes wild, mid-yell. I hadn't posted half of these publicly, which meant someone sent them to her. I didn't have to guess who. The judge watched in silence. When it ended, the courtroom was dead quiet except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. I wanted to scream, to rip the tablet from the clerk's hands and throw it across the room. Instead, I sat there, nails digging into my palm, pretending it didn't feel like my entire case had just shattered. Afterwards, in the hallway, I caught sight of them through the glass doors. He was holding her phone, both of them laughing at something on the screen. My lawyer touched my arm. "They're building a joint custody motion." I turned to him. "What does that mean for me?" He hesitated, just long enough for my stomach to drop, and then said, "It means you could lose more than half your time. Maybe more." That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table with the baby monitor beside me, scrolling through my own accounts, deleting old posts, setting everything to private. It felt pointless, like closing the barn door after the horses had bolted. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A DM request from an account I didn't recognize. I clicked it. No message. Just a 10-second video. Shot from outside my house. Through my living room window. And in the reflection of the glass, holding the phone, was him. I didn't even wait until morning. I called him at 2:04 a.m., voice shaking, demanding to know why the hell he was filming my house. He didn't deny it. He just laughed. Slow. Deliberate. Like he'd been waiting for me to see it. Just keeping track of things, in case the court needs context. Context for what? I snapped. For why our daughter's better off somewhere else. Somewhere else. Not with me. I slammed the phone down so hard the battery cover popped off. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, even as I locked every door, checked every window, yanked the blinds shut. The baby stirred in the monitor, and my throat tightened. The next morning, I told my lawyer we had to file a restraining order. He sighed. If we do, we risk looking like you're retaliating during active custody proceedings. I wanted to scream. Retaliating? He was stalking me. He was documenting me. And every second I waited, he was building his case. The hearing came faster than I expected. Final custody review. Everything we'd been slinging at each other for months was about to land in front of a single person with the power to decide where my child slept at night. The courtroom was full. Her, in another pristine dress, sitting 2 rows back. Him, in a pressed shirt, exuding calm confidence. My stomach churned. We went first. My lawyer painted me as the stable parent, the constant presence. He downplayed the videos, emphasized the harassment from the burner account. For a moment, I let myself believe it might actually work.
Then their side took over. She wasn't just a witness now. She was party to the petition. The judge had allowed her to join his custody motion. I didn't even know that was possible. They presented concerns, late-night rants, missed pediatric appointments, screenshots of texts where I vented to friends about how exhausted I was, how sometimes I just wanted to run away for a week and sleep. I said those things to friends, private conversations, but they had them. And then came the surveillance footage. Not just the clip through the window, a whole sequence of videos. Me pacing the kitchen, me sitting on the floor with my head in my hands while the baby cried in the background, me dropping my phone and cursing when I burned dinner. Every human moment twisted into something ugly. "Your Honor," his lawyer said smoothly, "this is not about vilifying the mother. It's about ensuring the child is in the environment with the most emotional safety and support." Emotional safety. The words felt like acid. The judge didn't rule that day. They said they'd review and issue a written decision. I drove home in silence, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles ached. 3 days later, the letter came. Primary physical custody awarded to the father. Supervised visitation for the mother twice a week. I read it 3 times before the words made sense. Then the phone rang. It was him. "Pickups at 4 p.m. Don't be late." I thought I'd fall apart right there on the kitchen floor. But I didn't. I packed her little clothes into a bag, kissed the top of her head until she squirmed, and carried her out to the driveway. He was waiting in his SUV. She reached for him without hesitation. And then I saw it. Her backpack. Brand new. The kind of thing you buy when you're setting up a new routine. A permanent routine. I handed her over. He didn't say thank you. He didn't even look at me. The SUV pulled away, and I stood there, long after the taillights disappeared, holding the empty car seat like it was a lifeline. That night, the house was silent. Too silent. I sat on the couch, mindlessly scrolling, when a notification popped up. A new video. Posted to her account. My daughter, laughing, running through a sunny park, him and her sitting together on a blanket in the background, looking like a family. The caption was just 4 words. "She's safe with us." And in the comments, dozens of people cheering them on, telling them they'd saved her, calling me unfit. I closed the app, but the image burned in my head because I realized, for the first time, that they weren't going to stop. They'd already rewritten the story. And now, I was just a footnote in my own child's life.